Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Skåne County here in the south of Sweden, and this is a brewery who you've seen me review a couple of things from now, but we have another one of their canned releases which always tend to be pretty damn good. So we're going to go to Eslöv today, which is a little bit to the northeast of me here in Lund, and we're having a taste of another beer from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. So this one is their Hop Keller and India Pale Lager coming in at 6.5%, and it does actually have an impressive array of hops in it, so very curious to see how this one turns out. The last canned beer I had from these guys was called the Shaped Tiny Can, and it was a New England IPA, from what I remember, a collaboration with Malmö Brewing Company, who also do some very good beers, but they don't bottle or can anything, unfortunately. But very much looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. The IPL is a style that you don't find all that many of actually, so when you do come across a good one, it's always a little bit special, and I'm hoping this one is the same. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri before. No doubt there will be some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri then. So as the name suggests, Gård of course in Swedish, Danish and Norwegian means farm, but this brewery are based on a farm just outside of Eslöv to the north of Lund. So they've been brewing here since the winter, kind of autumn of 2014, and in January of 2015 they started selling their beers through Systembolaget. But the owner of the company is Håkan Nilsson, and together with his wife Michelle, he started his plan for a brewery a couple of years back, and the brewery is located on their family farm, and Håkan is the 5th generation to actually farm the land here on the countryside in Skåne. But the old barn was renovated, they installed a brew house of 1500 litres, and then they hired Hampus Olofsson as the brewer in August of 2014, who previously worked at Malmö Brewing Company, of course, before as well, and I'm guessing that's the reason why they still do a number of collaborations with them. But yeah, very nice little company. This one, you've seen me review a couple of beers from these guys before, and as I say, they always do some really nice stuff. It's quite cool to see these guys releasing a few of the more kind of American style beers, I guess you could say. You know, for a long time their beers were nice. They had a really nice called, I think it was the Long Red Slope it was called, or the Red Carol, and they had some very nice sort of red ales that they were releasing at Christmas. They also had the Fenton, which was a lovely IPA, and they also had the Sweet Hoof, a really nice milk stout actually. So it's cool to see them playing around with some of the New England IPAs and the more hoppy American styles in recent times. From what I gather, there is a mobile canning system that's going around the sort of south of Sweden and helping little breweries actually can up their beers as well, and that's one of the reasons why you're getting cans from these guys every so often as well. But yeah, a brewery that I'm sure will start to expand a little bit more in the future, because you know these beers do tend to be pretty damn good. But that's all you really need to know about Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. It's now just a very small operation on a farm here in Skåne, and you know, very cool actually. That's how brewing used to be here in Scandinavia centuries ago, farmhouse brewing. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. If you want to hear a little bit more, if you want to learn a little bit more about the brewery, you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on there. So anyway, let's get on to the tasting of this beer. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 6.5% India Pale Lager, double dry hopped India Pale Lager to be precise. If you want to give it the letters, DDH IPL, and the hops in this one are Mosaic, Simcoe, Equinox, Cascade, Centennial and Summit. So yeah, quite an impressive plethora there. Just let you have a little look at that. But you can see nice artwork in this one, really nicely presented beer. You can see here the little kind of chicken, the little hen down here is the symbol of the Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri, and you can see this is the normal kind of text that you get as well. You can see the little chicken on the edge there if you just have a little look close enough. But yeah, 440ml can, this one, best before the 30th of November 2019. But without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. I'm very, very curious to see how this beer turns out. Yeah, a little bit of smoke on the opening and we'll get it out and into the glass. Look at that. That looks really nice. So yeah, as you can see, and as you would kind of expect from a sort of lager beer, it's poured a lovely kind of bright golden yellow one. It's almost, yeah, it's always a very, very kind of sharp sort of yellow colour, this one. You can see there's a solid finger and a half of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head on this one. That's not a perfect white head. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there, but you know, overall it does look very, very nice actually. So yeah, if I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see this one is pretty transparent, and again, that's something that you would normally expect from a lager beer. At least the German traditional ones normally you would, but some of them can be hazy. Some of the more American style lagers these days can be a little bit hazy. But let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on with this beer. There's nothing particularly surprising about this one in terms of its appearance when you consider that it is a lager beer. Oh yeah, that smells really nice actually. I mean, it does, it has a good bit of a kind of bready, it does actually, to be honest, it does smell more like an ale. It's got that big sort of bready base to it, sort of big bready yeasty base I would say, which is quite nice. You can definitely pick out that. There's definitely some sort of biscuity qualities in this one, and you can smell, I think there's a little bit of Pilsner malt being used in here, to be honest with you. Because it does have a little bit, the Pilsner malt's just very, very distinctive. If you like German Pils and German Helles beers and stuff like that, you can really pick out that Pilsner malt straight away. But it's a lovely smelling beer this. The hops just kind of jump out at you. The malt base is pretty much what you would expect in fairness. But let's kind of pay attention to the hops a little bit. So with this beer, there's a whole host of stuff going on. You've got a lovely tangerine orange quality coming out of this one. That's the mosaic giving you that. There's a little bit of passion fruit in there. The passion fruit's a slightly kind of stronger sort of fruity note. And you've also got the grapefruits mixing in with that. The grapefruits, of course, are coming from the Cascade. The Cascade is the sort of classic American hop for for giving you those grapefruit flavours, if you like. The Simcoe gives you a little bit more of that kind of passion fruity note. It's just a higher alpha acid. The Cascade, from what I remember, is around 7-8% alpha acid, whereas the Simcoe's away up at the sort of 12-13% mark, something like that. But yeah, lovely passion fruity notes, a bit of darker grapefruit in there, as I mentioned. The tangerine orangey notes from the mosaic. There's also a bit of a lemon-limey quality to this too, and you know, the limey notes are coming from the Equinox that they've used in this. And the Centennial is the one that will be giving it the lemon. The Centennial's got this very distinctive lemony sherbet quality, and it's interesting with this, when they've used so many hops in this beer, it's interesting that you can still pick out all of these ingredients to it. The Summit hop actually is one that's used more as a bittering hop, but it can have quite an orangey, it can have a sort of orangey citrus aroma to it, in fairness. And maybe that's why the tangerines, the sort of mosaic-y elements, are pushing out of this one a little bit more, because if you've got two hops in there that give you orange, then it's something that's going to just push it out that little bit more. Of course, on the green side of the hops, you've got a little bit of floral quality in there, although I would say it leans a little bit more towards the kind of grassy side of things, right enough. But in terms of its aroma, it smells very, very nice. You could be forgiven with this beer for thinking that it's going to be, when you smell it, of course, you could be forgiven for thinking this is going to be some sort of IPA or something, when they're using 6 hops in it, I don't think I've ever come across a lager beer that's had so many different types of hops in it. From what I can remember reviewing on the channel, albeit that is 1600 odd beers, I don't think I've ever had a lager beer that's been quite as heavily hopped with these kind of big American type hops as this one has. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it, because this one is really impressive actually. You can pick up some sort of lychee notes in there, a little bit of a kind of blueberry note too, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, it's a really nice aroma coming out of this beer. So yeah, let's get stuck into this one, and I really just want to try this now. So this one is the Hop Keller, a double dry hopped India Pale Lager at 6.5% from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri on a farm just outside of Eslöv here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, skål. Now that's pretty damn good, I have to say. I like what this one's going for. It's definitely got more of that kind of crispness that you would want. It has a little bit of that German crispness to it. I love that. Yeah, now this is a good beer. Let's just put the last little bit of it in, because sometimes with these beers, as I say, you can sometimes get a little bit of sediment in them, but as you can see with this beer, it has stayed pretty much crystal clear. But I'll tell you straight away, this is a really good effort at this style. I like what they've done with this, so big thumbs up to Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri on this one. So easy to drink that as well. I really don't know why there's not more of this style, to be honest, because it's you know, I'm a huge fan of the traditional German beers, and you know, kind of as when I went to Czech for the first time in June, you know, you're trying all these Czech lagers and stuff as well, and you're thinking, damn, these are, you know, very, very good beers as well. I really don't understand this, why, you know, there's been such a kind of lurch to IPAs in the craft beer world. When you try these traditional German and Czech beers, they are very, very nice, and having something like this, which is a slightly Americanized version of those beers almost, it's really just very, very nice actually. It's a nice change of pace from the, you know, the New England IPAs and the West Coast IPAs and stuff like that. Having something like this is very, very nice actually. So yeah, in terms of the flavours of this beer then, let's take the malt base first. The malt base is pretty much what you'd expect. You can feel a nice little bit of that sort of bready malt, that just blankets the middle of your palate. And I would say the malt base in this one, in fairness, is a little bit more of a sort of ale malt base, to be honest. It has some of the crispness you'd expect of like a German Pils or a Czech Pilsen. It's got a little bit of that, but there's definitely a sort of smoother, bready malt base to this one. But on top of that, you start to get some of those kind of crisper notes from the Pilsner malt. I do think they have used a little bit of Pils malt in here, to be honest with you. In the very centre of your palate as well, there's a sort of nice, light, biscuity kind of quality to this beer, almost like a kind of McVitie's digestive sort of thing. But it's very, very nice. The malt base in this one, it has that lovely kind of smoothness to it. And this beer, in some ways, it does have a little bit of that almost German, Czech kind of Brauhaus, pivovarny smoothness, if you like. But yeah, it's the way that the malt base comes out in this one is nice, and it's kind of interesting because it reminds me, the way that the mouthfeel comes out in this one reminds me of this. It's the same sort of mouthfeel that you get from the beers that you get at Malmö Tap Room. It just has that typical kind of tap smoothness to it, which is really interesting actually, and that's one thing that I think works out very, very well for this beer, because that slightly smoother, oily quality is helping to bring out some of these nice, these kind of nice oily, fruity notes. Yeah, I like how everything's going together in this one. On the hoppy side of things then, in the back corner of the palate, there's a little bit of an earthiness there, and I think that Mosaic can give you a little bit of an earthiness, but Summit can also give you that as well. And it just smooths out a little bit as you come further forward. There's a little tiny touch of herbal quality in there, which again I think is the Summit, and as you come towards the front corners of the palate, you can feel there is a little touch of a spicy floral aromaticity to the beer, and then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind. But you know, so the green side of the hops is kind of pretty much what you'd expect. It does have a little bit of that kind of freshness and it also that sort of floral aromatic quality of this beer helps bring out some of the crispness of the Pilsner malt as well. Behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get that little oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters really start to come out of the beer. If you go towards the back of that sort of oily bubble part of the beer, there's a nice dark grapefruity note to the beer. That's the Cascade giving you that. When you come further forward a little bit, there's some more kind of passion fruity notes to the beer as well, and again that's the Simcoe that's coming out. And a little bit further forward from that, that's when you start to get the kind of lemon limey notes, and that's the Centennial and the Equinox mixing together in this one. It's really interesting how all these different aspects of the hops are really just coming out of this beer. Yeah, it's really nice, this one. I like how everything kind of goes together in this beer. And it's one thing I was just thinking there, it's kind of surprising a little bit that they don't use, you know, that they're not using they're not using Citra in this, because Citra's a really, Citra and Mosaic seems to be a very popular combination of hops. Galaxy is the other one that's getting like that. Citra, Mosaic, Galaxy, they seem to be the three most popular hops at the moment. So they've only used one of those three in this. And it's kind of interesting that they don't use Citra a little bit, because Citra actually works very, very well in lager beers in my experience. In Germany there's a brewery, Munich Brew Mafia. They have a lovely pils that's called Don Limon. It's Citra, you know, it's simply a Citra hopped pils beer, and it's absolutely beautiful. And it's interesting to try something like this as well. I'd love to try just a single hop Mosaic pils. I think that would be very, very interesting, because the Mosaic is working very nicely in this style as well. As I was saying, you've got sort of darker grapefruit flavours at the back, a bit of passion fruit in front of that. Lemon, limey flavours just sort of forming the base, but then on top of that you start to get out more of the kind of juicy tangerine orange qualities coming out of this beer as well. And on the very tip of the tongue there's almost just a little light touch of blueberry or something like that. But this is a lovely, lovely beer, this one, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. And I like it, the thing I like about it as well is that all the hops show you a little bit of their own individual characteristics too, which is really nice. And I mean, when you've got 6 hops in it, that can be a little bit difficult, but this one kind of pulls it out of the bag very, very well. The only two that I can really feel are mixing together a little bit are the Centennial and the Equinox, but you know, lemon, limey flavours, they do tend to go together just a little bit. But yeah, this is a nice beer, this one, and as I say, it's a bit of a shame we don't see more of this style. But yeah, let's have a look at the mouthfeel of this one then. So I would say overall, it's kind of a mid-bodied, lager beer, this one. Carbonation is quite smooth. It leans towards the oily side of things actually, but it does have a little bit of that crispness that you'd expect of the style. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness. I think we're talking about maybe 40 or maybe pushing 50 IBUs in this one actually, which is quite nice actually. You do want a little bit of bitterness from your lager beers actually. I think it's about 40 IBUs in this beer, to be honest with you. Nice mix of smoothness and sweetness from the malt base, and it does have a little touch of that kind of sweetness to it as well, but you've also got some lovely kind of hoppy qualities, and you've got a little bit of sweetness there from the malt base just to balance it out right enough, but you've also got the smoothness there. It does have a little bit of that almost tap kind of element to it, but it's got a lovely kind of hoppy bitterness just balancing it out. You've got some nice juicy fruity qualities as well, but overall this is a really, really nice beer. I really like just how everything works out in this one. The one thing I will say about it is at this point you can tell it's not quite at its freshest. You can feel a little bit in this one that the hops are dropping a little bit, but it still gives you a lot of the flavours that you would expect out of this one. But yeah, overall, very, very nice beer, and I'm glad that I was able to try this. As I say, it's a shame that this is a style we don't see all that many of. As I was mentioning though, when I'm saying this one isn't at its freshest, it says it's best before the 30th of November 2019. That makes me think that probably this one's been canned at the very end of November 2018, and we are getting this. This one was released in very late. This one was released in kind of mid-February, if you like. It was released in the small partiers. So yeah, really I think they should be getting this beer out there a little bit more. And this is unfortunately one of the things with Systembolaget, because it's a monopoly. These beers will go into the warehouse and sit for a while before they actually kind of get them out there, and you know, that's something I really think that Systembolaget need to fix about their system, because this is a beer that you should be drinking kind of it's a beer that you should be drinking a little bit fresher than it actually is just now, but that doesn't take away too much from the beer. It is very nicely done, and I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the Hop Keller, a double dry hopped India Pale Lager from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri in Eslöv here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. If you get the chance to try this one, I highly recommend that you do, and I do recommend that you have a go at some of their canned releases as well. They're always introducing very nice beers in their cans at Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri, and I'm sure I'll return to these guys in the fairly near future. But until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Make sure you check out my social media, and make sure you have a go at some of these Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri beers. Slàinte, skål.